So today we're discussing chapter 16 of our text, sport facility and event management. So unfortunately, globally and domestically, we have had problems with the security in sport, and it's something that people don't really think about until something bad happens, of course. But security is such a broad issue when it comes to managing facilities and especially big arenas in stadiums. Specifically in 1996 here, our Olympics, we had a bombing attempt. Luckily was stopped for the most part, but it still took a couple lives, and it now it's infamous to people here in Atlanta. Our text mentions about 10 attacks on international sports, specifically with the Olympics, and a lot of times this will happen globally with international competition because there could be conflict between countries, different ideologies that come into it, and just overall bitterness when it comes to the sport. Of course, the larger the event, the more the security is going to cost. For now, the 2021 Olympics in Tokyo, there have been studies to show that it could cost up to $15 billion when it comes to all of their security measures that they're taking. This obviously differs with a lot of countries because Tokyo, Japan, they have very strict immigration laws, and so they do extra efforts to keep athletes and spectators safe with that. So customer service, this is domestically and globally. We're going to focus on here. It's really going to be the biggest thing in sport when it comes to facility management. Without the season ticket holders, without people coming to the games, buying merchandise, buying concession stands, you can't operate your team or program to its full potential. The COO of the NFL says that building a program and building a successful, profitable team program comes down to three things. It comes down to the brand, the audience, and the experience. So you have to build the brand of your program to have a successful team, to have a team that's good in the community, doing really good things, to establish the audience that you're going to have. And then once you get that audience, you have to give them a good experience so that you can build that brand loyalty to your team. So the success of a profitable team relies on the attendance, of course. You notice how the most profitable teams like the NFL, the Cowboys, the MLB, the Yankees, all of these different teams, they're in the big cities, but also they sell out almost every game. So you see those top market teams at the top of the attendance list, and the smaller market teams usually more at the bottom of the attendance list, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have good brand loyalty. It also has a lot to do with demographic location and just resources of the players that they can get. So the NFL will have what's known as blackout games, which means if your city team doesn't get a proper amount of people in the stands for a 1 o'clock, 4 p.m. or 8 p.m. game on a Sunday, the TV contract will have it blocked out for that game, and they'll either play something else that's local or they'll shift it to another game. So customer service, a little bit of a self-application. I've been a season ticket holder for the Atlanta Falcons for 3 years now, and as a ticket holder, you really see all of the efforts that they try to give you individually, and as a season ticket holder, they'll provide multiple events outside the competition. They'll do discounts on merchandise, discounts on additional tickets, and then they'll also do things that also try to create a one-on-one connection to you, sending mail and a couple of gifts per year. So this is really on the sales representatives for the Atlanta Falcons. They reach out every week, and what they're really trying to do is build that brand loyalty regardless of if the team's having a good season or not. Especially, I've noticed when the season hasn't been going as well, you will get more emails, more different things to try to keep you engaged into the team. So another big thing when it comes to event management is the alcohol policies. So it has a lot of significant financial benefits, but it also has tremendous amount of liability. Liability is probably one of the top liability things when it comes to a big stadium, but the alcohol provides a incredible economic impact to your team and to your city, just by the amount that's bought per game. The sale of alcohol in most stadiums differ. I believe the main policy in the NFL is that they have to stop selling at the end of the third quarter, but that also differs for people that are in box seats and different luxury seats. A lot of times that does not apply, but that's just a safety route that they take as far as driving home and getting home safely. There are four major considerations when it comes to alcohol policy. First one is policy and training. You must have a firm policy already set for not only your customers, but also your employees that are distributing it. A lot of stadiums, you'll notice they've removed the bottle caps. That's mainly because it's sharp and it can be used as a weapon, they say. So they always have a policy of removing the bottle caps. Another thing that they do, like we said, stop selling at the end of the third quarter. It's more of a liability thing for after the game and during the game, to not have people disruptive. Another thing that this is more of a subjective one, but it's one that really needs to be followed, is a lot of employees are told to not sell alcohol to people who can objectively be very disruptive to people and disturbing the peace. So continue. The second one is sales and marketing. You'll notice in stadiums, most stadiums have multiple alcohol sponsorships, so they'll do their best to set up as many signs and as many little stations for alcohol sales as possible. You'll see that there's more alcohol vending spots than there is ice cream or just regular fountain drinks, and that's because they do a really high amount of volume of sales. And also, obviously, you need to have a really good target audience of how you know how much you need. You got to have the quantity on hand that you think the demand's gonna provide. Tailgating, that's another big thing. Tailgating is outside the stadium, just drinking, getting ready for the game, and eating. But usually teams need to have some security right outside the stadium to make sure that no one's picking fights, no one's doing anything crazy, because you're still on the team's property. And also bringing it into the stadium, detections and enforcements, checking IDs at the time of the checkout in the stadium. But as far as not letting people bring outside alcohol into the stadium is another huge thing when it comes to alcohol sales. And another safety, this kind of goes back to the security, but crowd management. So stadiums have, as what was talked about at the beginning of the chapter, stadiums have gotten so much bigger now. We have over 10 college football stadiums that hold over 100,000 people. In the NFL, most stadiums hold around 70 to 75,000 people. So you have to have an adequate amount of staff on hand. The ushers play a big role when it comes to getting people that are designated seats, making sure there's resolving conflicts between fans. Another thing is to Actually, the biggest thing really is having the emergency planning. Every stadium is supposed to have an emergency plan set up. You have to have fire exits, fire extinguishers, disclaimers on tickets, to to um, to not have the liability when if something bad does happen with that. Um, Fire exits that must meet the standard, of course. That's always checked. Um, Extinguishers, that always has to be checked before anyone can have competition or people in there. The occupancy, every stadium has a certain amount that's occupied in there. So anytime a game is sold out, there needs to be checks and balances to make sure that they're not selling more tickets than seats that they have, which a lot of teams will try to do that. Accessibility for handicapped, each facility it differs greatly, but each facility has to have handicap parking, of course, and it has to have certain spots where people can buy a ticket and roll their wheelchair or use a walker going up a ramp or anything as far as maybe a place where they can sit down without going up the stairs to watch the game. And disruptive fans, another big part. Fans cannot be disruptive, especially in a big crowd, because the more people you have in a close environment, the more possibilities you're going to have for things accelerating and really being hard to manage. And that's it.